SmashFactor.
Ripping driver, going for it. Oh my goodness. How about that tee shot?
That is crazy how far that is.
Wow. John Daly, take a back seat, big fella. How about that drive?
That's an aggressive line. Man, that is beyond long.
Look at this. He's just driven the green. He has just driven the green.
I guess hello world, huh?
Good evening, everyone, from a hot, humid, and rainy San Antonio, Texas. So if I cut in and out a little bit, we have some pretty bad storms that went through here a little while ago. So bear with me, and Bucks and Ruvy will fill in as needed. This is episode 73 of the SmashFactor, covering this week's PGA event, which is a newly named Rocket Mortgage Classic being played at Detroit Golf Club for the first time ever that any PGA Tour has played at this course, as we'll hear a little later. This tourney last year was a Quicken Loan National, played up by Bucks in Maryland. As news just broke a couple hours ago that potentially full workforce strike at this course on Thursday. Hopefully this tourney goes off without a hitch. I assume someone will step up. They probably don't want that the first time they're hosting an event there, but I'll give a little more on that as we get into the pod. First, before I go into my results and some winners, back from at least a 10 or 11-day work/vacation, back-to-back issues for Bucks. And then Ruvy had to step away last week because I had to go early for a wedding anniversary night. So for the first time in maybe a month, all three of us are back on the show together. Ruvy, Bucks, how you doing? Bucks, well, you don't have much to recap from last week, although I think you probably
I don't.
You probably left about 50,000 on the table, but
Yes.
How was your week?
It was awesome, man. Yeah, it's been a whirlwind. I was in San Francisco for 4 days for business, came back, went to D.C. to pick up my daughters, went to Baltimore to drop them off with my parents, and then me and my wife had our anniversary trip. We went to Sedona, Arizona. We went to a spa resort called Miamo. And if anybody listening has a significant other that they would like to treat, this is bananas. The place was phenomenal. Service was impeccable, all-inclusive spa type thing. But yeah, being a part of that, it was in Arizona, obviously, and with all the travel, and so it was being so hectic, and with the way the pricing was, we left on Sunday, so I couldn't enter anything before heading out, and so I had to create a lineup and send it to JB, and it turns out that was not the nuts, but I had 527 or so points. Would have came in second in the 444. Left a bunch of money out on the table, but is what it is. Happens. I gave JB the keys to the chest, and he threw it down the toilet, flushed it, and went about his merry business. So it was a fun week, though. I'm excited to be back.
Ruvy, how was your week in DraftKings betting, all of the above?
DraftKings was really bad. I only played 3 lineups, and I think I didn't have any 6-6. So I think Kokrak was one of them that ruined one of them. I think Blix got me. Obviously, I was heavy on Blix. So only played 3 lineups. I went really small last week because got really busy at work last week. And so just went small, which was okay. No cashes, so it was bad. I did have Keegan outright at 85-1, so that was fun come Sunday. I got to hedge a little bit on 17 to get my money back for the betting part of it. So I got my money back off Chaz because it got down to 2-1. So I put it on Chaz. He was at 2-1 after 16. And then, of course, Keegan proceeds to double, Chaz birdies, and that was it. Pretty simple on that. Been heavy into the women's soccer, so that's been fun, actually.
I had it was an interesting week. Obviously, I released my 4th ever 6-star in golf, and it was my worst loss in a 6-star, which is surprising because when Houghton beat me, I thought that was going to be the worst. But Vaughn Taylor must have gotten word that I made a 6-star against him because he just couldn't miss with the putter. Not only that, Landry played his worst round by far of the tournament. So it was something I didn't regret, obviously. A 6-star, it's, as I told people Saturday night, I mean, I've only done 4 in golf out of 4,000 plays. So it's not something I just kind of throw out there. The good thing was it was a decent, finish. I had Neiman top 5, 18-1. So with other things, finished 9-1 on the week. So record wise was okay. Just anytime you lose a 6-star, 2.1 stars for the week there, and another 2.1 on the outrights and totals. DK, as was the case in last year, this was my worst DK week of the year thus far, losing 97% of my weekly bankroll. Which means if I was to put $100 in, I got 3 back. I didn't lose. I didn't lose 9, and I did put a little more than 100, but I didn't lose 97% of like all my bankroll. Obviously, just for new people, that I have a weekly bankroll set aside, and ideally, I don't lose it all. But this was exactly like last year. The only difference this year was my player pool or my player rankings were very strong, probably some of the strongest of the year I've had. I just chose to fade every single one of the guys that finished in the top 10 that was in my rankings. Ruvy, Casey, there were 6 or 7 that top 15 of the tournament. 20 of I played of them. Kokrak got me as well. I was even with the field on 6 of 6. I think it was around 10%, and then it got to 4% on Sunday after the MDF, and I actually had, like 8% on Sunday. So I just didn't have any of the guys that got up there, really high. But maybe some good karma, as I somewhat stated last week by myself, that I lost 90% of my bankroll last year at the Travelers, and then the next 3 weeks I won $357,000 on the Quicken Loans, Greenbrier, and John Deere Classic. Now the Quicken Loans isn't here, but I'll take the same results if we can get those rolling with this 3-week stretch again. I got asked if I could say my 6 lineup from last year. I'm not going to say all 6 of them, but I put 6 lineups in the $44 last year at the Quicken Loans, because last year I was traveling to San Antonio to work out my contract for what is now my job I'm at. So I went light and didn't put much. I just did like 6 lineups in the 44. I didn't have very much in at all. And the winning lineup I had was Molinari, Stuart Sink, Garrigus, CT Pan, Ryan Armour, and Bo Hostler. I battled it out with Justin Van, I don't know how to say his last name properly. I don't want to butcher it, but over at Roto Grinders, and Bucks was giving me the play-by-play as I was driving back from San Antonio. So it's a day I'll never forget, because it was my first huge 6-figure hit. And then it led on to a pretty awesome run. But the biggest still, I was telling people yesterday in the chat was, it just shows, you don't have to get too cute. And I preach it. I just got too cute. I pivoted away from almost all the chalk that I saw, and the ones I pivoted to just didn't work out. That's part of it. You live and learn and you move on. Strong week though, like I said, player rankings were well. The little information Bucks was able to give out was well received. The whole chat had amazing Sundays once again. Yeah. Nick Fleer won $22,000 almost dollars on $900 entered. Making Memories won a Fantasy Golf World Championship ticket, so that's worth almost $7,000. Chinatown, interesting story here. I won't go into all the details. Won $5,000 on $12 entered into the Albatross. He started out playing, I don't know, months ago, playing 25 cents a week in the max down there, whatever it is, $5 a week is what he was playing. He listened to our buddies Kimmy Kim and Tambo and heard the promo. decided to join 2 months ago, and now he's coupled the $5 a week into a 5K hit with his third baby on the way in August.
Yeah, man.
So that's awesome for him. And it's good to hear those stories and that's the majority of our community. The majority are playing, $20, $100, $80, and they're winning. Money Putt 09 had $180 in, won 2,100. Red Sox 04 won 2K in the 44.
Yeah. I think that's important real quick. Super pumped for the community, but I hope everybody understands that whether it doesn't matter whether you pay $5 or $5,000 a week, like we're there grinding with you because myself, I mean, we throw these player pools out there. We throw our picks out there. We're riding and dying with it too. I mean, I'm typically probably at 3 to 5K a week in. And so I'm sweating out Keegan and Shez and everybody else with you. And I understand that how important that $12 to $5,000 is for everybody. And that's where I started too. And so I think it's really important to understand that we're not just throwing picks out there and sitting back and relaxing. We're there grinding with you, and we're there Sunday afternoons sweating it out and rooting for everybody in the community, because most of the time there's a large group of us on the same guys. So it only benefits us to have everybody winning something.
Yeah, and as it continues to grow, it's be more like that, because every combination of some kind is going to be covered. So I know the naysayers will be on the other side saying, well, yeah, someone's going to win. And that may be the case. But the nice thing of us is hearing all the successes of many different ways and shapes of how they won. It's not like anybody gets the same lineup. We don't give out lineups, and nor will we ever go and do that. But there's enough talked about that. I love Ruvy, I love Casey. I stated Wednesday night that they're probably going to be my fades because of ownership. And that doesn't mean that, some of these guys are like, I'm going to play those two and I'll fade somewhere else. And they made the right move, and that worked out for them. So, and there's no jealousy at all. And I mean, I think it was Nick that was sitting, with 100K going into Sunday. And I starred his 6 lineups because that became my rooting interest of the week, because I think it's cool to see these guys that have never even been close to a big hit, with that big sweat, and they have, comfort in the community as everybody's cheering for them and keeping an eye on it. So it is cool. I know JB was there this weekend, met up with Phil, had a great time. Wanted to give a shout out to Jared and Joey for hooking him up on Saturday, and then to Jordan for hanging out with him Sunday. It was a great time. And every time we can do that, we try to get around the country between all of us. And next year we'll have a more detailed published scheduled so we can plan ahead, because now it's getting more prominent for people wanting to hang out and meet up. And now that we're growing, obviously we almost have we do have, exposure to all 50 states plus, many countries around the world. So we'll try to get that out so people can make schedules if they want to try to get there. So before we get into kind of course preview and all that. So here's a statement that I just read before coming on about 2 hours ago or so. It says, the employees who are making Detroit Golf Club a playable PGA Tour caliber golf course this week are calling for a new contract. If it doesn't happen by the time the Rocket Mortgage Classic tees off Thursday, the union is going to strike. Another quote inside the quote, come Thursday when the tournament starts, said Kevin Moore, president of the local union, Teamsters Local 299, and executive board member of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. We're going to do what we have to do, demonstration strikes, whatever we have to do. So, all that means is these are workers that are there. I mean, the tournament's going to go on in some shape or form, but
we're just going to have even worse shot tracker.
Probably. I don't. It sounds like these guys are the key personnel for the actual maintaining the course and kind of the superintendent and all that stuff. It just came out. I'm sure by tomorrow everybody will be talking about it.
Fathom. These guys been grinding for a year to get this place ready. I can't fathom them just hanging it up and saying,
It's
have at it.
Yeah, in the article, and I'll get the website. I want to give due credit. It's definitely not our stuff, but it states that it's over like 57 cents an hour or something difference.
Now, I had to guess a city that this would happen in. Detroit would be the city.
I'll say this because I go to Detroit probably once every 2 months. There are some bad parts of Detroit, just like every other city.
Just like every other city, yeah.
But there are some really cool places in Detroit that I was shocked because I grew up watching like 8 Mile, and I'm like, probably don't want to go here, but nothing like that.
My dad grew up in Detroit, so yeah, I've heard about it and I've been back. But that would be the city I expected at, though.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like there was a contract ended in 18 and they were wanting X amount of raise because of health coverages, and they made them an offer and it was close but not good enough. And so I guess they've been waiting, just holding on until this week to kind of force their hands. Does it have any effect to the tournament? Not necessarily, but I don't know what the setup is as far as it'd be something to keep an eye on. It's not going to affect like our DraftKings or anything, but it'll be interesting to see. And this isn't the PGA workers. This is which was kind of what happened at the Sony or whatever last year. This is the actual tour, or the actual golf course worker, which it is a public course, I believe. And I know, let's roll right into it. I'll hit the sponsors and affiliates next, but Bucks, give us a course preview, which will probably be very highly listened to this week.
Yeah, this was, I love doing the course previews, even when I was playing junior golf, collegiate golf, playing very mediocre, like PGA events as a club pro. I really enjoyed deep diving into the course I was playing and trying to figure out the best way to get around it. Because typically for me, you show up the day of. You have no idea what the course looks like. Gup, I know you just joined a new club. You know this. Getting used to a place that you've never played before is really difficult. You got to know where to miss it. You got to know the right places to hit it, especially on the greens, around the greens. And so for me, I love doing these course previews to have a better understanding of the course, and then honestly, the better understanding of who I think fits that mold. These weeks where it's a brand new course, brand new setup, are the weeks where I really enjoy digging in and trying to find some information out. It's not like a Pebble Beach where they're playing it every year and everybody has the information. And so I did some pretty deep diving over the last couple of days to find out a bunch of information. They're at Detroit Golf Club. It's started in, I think, 1913, something like that. Donald Ross built 36 holes out here. And obviously they're only playing 18, the majority of which is their north course. Typically the course is only played at like a max of 7,000 yards. Once they won the 4-year contract last year, typically a tour event has years and years and years to prepare. They had less than 1 year to get everything the way that they wanted. And so they started by building 6 new tee boxes to lengthen the course. And so they moved it from 7,000 yards to 7,300 yards. Looking at what the superintendent, who apparently may be on strike come Thursday, he did a couple interviews with local media. He's been pretty vocal about how he wants the course, what it is, what it's like right now, and how he wants it to play come Thursday. So you have a golf course that is 7,300 yards. Greens are around 5,000 square feet, which is about what we saw last week. A little bigger than Pebble, but smaller than tour average. And it's Donald Ross. So you're going to have really wild undulations on the greens and bunker complexes. The interesting thing about it is with the way the greens are undulating, he wants them to roll at like a 12.5 come Thursday. And if that's the case, if you are on the wrong side of some of these pins, it can be pretty gnarly. Trying to keep it within a 5-6 foot radius of the hole. So it's going to be interesting to watch. He wants the rough to be at 3.5 inches come Thursday, and then he has no plans on cutting it until the end of the event. So it should be 4 inches, maybe a little more by the end of the week, especially if we get a little rain and then sunshine. But overall, you have a fairly tight golf course, pretty thick rough, smallish greens. Is definitely going to put a premium on hitting fairways and ball striking. Hitting a ton of greens is going to be key this week. But when you look at the hole by hole, and again, there's a ton of information in the actual breakdown on the site. Go check it out. But real quick, you have 4 par 5s here. It's par 72. 3 of those par 5s are reachable. And so there is going to be a lot of DK points coming from these par 5s. And then you have 4 par 4s that play under 400 yards, which by tour standards is really, really short. So you're talking about guys having gap wedge or less into 6, 7 of these holes. And then you have a couple long par 3s, a couple long par 4s, that kind of thing. But you're going to have a wide variety of shots you're going to have to hit. But there are a lot of scoring opportunities here if these guys are hitting fairways, for sure.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. The website, if you want to check it out, is freep.com with the story. FREEP.com is where I got the beginning information from. Just want to give a shout out to the right people. And real quick, before we go into stats and full breakdown, a few sponsors and affiliates. Excited to officially announce that Thrive Fantasy app now has PGA this week. We've been kind of teasing, hoping they'd get it this year. We know they're going to cover it for NFL, but so now's the time to check it out. All of us will be on there this week, playing it, trying it out. You get $10 free with your first $20 deposit. Limited time, no rollovers, no special. It's $20. You get it. I mean, you can't get it and then immediately withdraw it, but if you get it and play, you can withdraw it the next day if you want. So there is no, you got to play X amount. The guys have treated us well over there at Thrive, and we asked for the PGA, and they wouldn't commit to doing it this year. So I'm impressed they got it out. They were going to try to have it for fall swing, but it looks like they got it ahead of time. So looking forward to it. We will have a little bit of content on it as it grows. So help us help them grow it so we can get, even more content out for you guys. As always, Fanshare Sports, get the pro advantage. Use the code GUP, get 20% off any package. FantasyNational.com/GUP. Click on the link in the affiliates page, along with all these links will be in the affiliates page. Get 20% off your next subscription. Great time to do it with any of those for the next month, because it'll get you 5 tournaments, including the Open at Portrush and the WGC at St. Jude. So a major, a WGC plus 3 tournaments for a 1-month subscription is about as good as it gets, excluding maybe the Masters TPC run from earlier in the year. As always, rate and review us on iTunes, Instagram, Facebook, and subscribe to us on YouTube and Twitch. If you do this, it's going to benefit you greatly the week of the Open. We are going to be giving away Super 7 contest entries, Survivor Pool entries, Gups Corner Fantasy Football League entries. If you're not familiar with all those, go check out contest.gupscorner.com, or there's a direct link on the site. It's in the same site, just kind of sublink to it, and you can review all the contests from last year that will be back. We'll have more details on what's back, what's the rules, regulations, all that stuff. As always, moving forward, it's 100% rake-free contest. We provide them to you for free. Just another way to help grow the community. Looking forward to this year. I think it's going to be monstrous. And we will be giving away entries the week of the Open. So make sure you help us out. Rate and review us. Instagram, and now Twitch is another one we're on. So hit that up. YouTube as well, as always. A new one this week. I just caught on to this earlier. Our boy HV3, who was a part of my personal epic run last year. He was on one of the squads. He's got a pretty cool charity deal going on, and so I donated to it, and then he's promoting for people to promote it, spread the word. So I did my due diligence there. There's also a link up on the site where you can go in there and donate as little as $10 all the way to whatever you want. But the neat thing about it is, as you donate levels, there are certain ones you get these entries, and you can win things like a putting lesson from Tiger, a private, basically week tour passes with him, HV3 that is, at Wyndham, and putter head cover, HV3 putter head cover, HV3 custom T-shirt with certain donation levels. It's pretty cool. Go check it out. I know I donated, and I see tons of Gups Corner people in there already that donated, so I think that's great. We all know and love what he stands for. Obviously, he's in the Tiger camp, Nike, and all that stuff. So good guy. Let's help support his cause. Lastly, before we go into contest strategy, we have less than 75. We even be less than 50 by now, as many shirts as I gave away Saturday night after we hit 5,000 followers, which was, this is another benefit of being in our Slack, especially on Saturday nights. I like to give things away. So if you want a U.S. Open shirt, I would get in now. Also, if you want, we're going to give away 3 on Wednesday. I have a little pinned to my profile, a way you can get in for free to get an entry to get free T-shirts on Wednesday. Our winners from last week were Ketter 13, Ketter 13, Jockstrap Chaos, and at Bilya 40 were the 3 winners for Facebook, YouTube, all that. You each get a T-shirt. Reach out to JB or myself. We'll get you the directions on how to do that. This week, guys, with the contest selection, player fields 152 guys-ish. There may be Monday qualifying today. I'm not 100%. Top 78 ties again. MDF is in effect again, which came into play last week. All that means is if you're new is if they – and there's a lot of questions about this Saturday. If 79 or more guys make the cut, they recut the top 70 ties Sunday. Some confusion was it does not mean that someone gets cut. If everybody ties again, everybody will play Sunday. It's just – and it could be one person cut. It could be, 10 people cut. Just depending on how many guys made the MDF on Saturday, and that's how that plays out. And so that's why you saw the massive drop to 4% on Sunday, because a lot of the key guys made the cut on the number at +2. Grillo is one of them. Half my effing roster was all +2. So I was very familiar, or -2. I'm sorry. I think it was -2. I was right there sweating them all out. So if you have questions on that, reach out to us. But all that kind of means to me is that normally, you got 70 guys that have, less than half the field's going to make the cut. And if there is an MDF, you're going to have a massive MDF come Sunday. So lower 6% normally in those cases. Pretty good pots this week, just like last year. I think this time of year with no basketball now, no hockey now, you got baseball that's daily. You're still not to football. Golf's kind of beef up the pots. And the $44 100K this week, the $444 is 100K this week, the $5 100K. They're doing the Royal Rumble satellites, which is a $3,100 entry to the big Open tournament. Fantasy golf World Championship satellites, they're at like 125 now out of 200 that get into that. I have not yet tried those. I may do some this week. Just pure rough estimates, and I kind of agree with you, Bucks. I went off a couple of similar courses and tours and Donald Ross and scoring. I think the points are going to be around 475 to 500 points. I think you're going to have a winner maybe -14 to 18. You could have someone like Molinari last year at Quicken Loan that ran away from the field at -21, and everybody else though was like 8 back. So a tight kind of leaderboard. I don't think it gets to like 20, especially if it does dry out and they're able to grow the rough before then. I've heard a little bit of chatter of super low scoring this week, and I don't know if I see that yet. What is there anything you changed this week on your contest selection? Do you dial back coming off of last week, getting ready for the Open? Do you do more satellites? What do you guys do? Bucks first and Ruvy. Anything changed for you this week?
Yeah, for me, it all comes down to how comfortable I am with my core, and how comfortable I am with how confident I am with like the course setup, course fit. Like last week, I felt like I knew exactly how the course was going to play and the player pool I really wanted, and it worked out. And I feel kind of the same way this week. I think I have a really good handle on how I think the course will play. The only thing that I have to keep an eye on is the weather potential on Thursday, Friday. Because if rain does come in Thursday, does come in Friday, that will, for me anyways, significantly change how low I think these guys can go. They've had a ton of rain in Detroit compared to normal. but they've been top dressing the daylights out of this golf course to try to dry it out, firm it up, especially around the greens. And if they get some rain, with it being an old course, it doesn't drain real well, so it's going to hold. I could just see guys having their way with it. And if that's the case, then I could see Friday scoring being ridiculously low, which would take out some of the guys that, frankly, I'm targeting, because I think the winning score is going to be 15-ish under, somewhere around there. So 15 to 18, which is right around where you are. If I think it gets to like 24 under, I'm not picking some of the same guys that I'm currently targeting. But if they get the rough the way they want it, if the greens are going to be a little bit firm, then I think that 15, or right around that 15 number, is right where it should be. Then I think that brings in a bunch of different players for me. And so for me, I'm probably going to be just 3 max. I'll dump them in the 444, the 44, the 5, that kind of thing. But I'm not going to go too heavy unless I get a clear read on what the weather's going to do Thursday, Friday.
Ruvy, anything for you?
2 weeks ago at the US Open, I played 3 lineups. I wasn't on last week, so I didn't get really a chance to recap them. But I did have a good lineup in the Millie Maker. Played 3 lineups, felt comfortable with that. Had a good week. This week, played 3 lineups. It was awful. So I think I'm going to stick with the 3 lineups, though. Just helps me narrow it down and gets rid of some of the indecision. So I'm going to go with the 3 lineups again. I don't know yet on the lineups, on the contest, but I'll probably just pick the 3 entry maxes. But
yeah, probably the only thing with me is I probably spread myself a little out this week, only because of the unknown in the course, meaning, but you could use it to the other advantage of, if you think you have an edge, kind of like Buck said, and you go into a 3 max or a 1 max. I mean, if you feel really good, this could be a week where guys are like, they don't know. So they start questioning everything. Or a lot of guys are going to wipe on the exact same people because everybody's going to spill the little information we have.
Yeah.
You got to find a way to differentiate yourself. So it's one of 2 ways there for me is an unknown course or an unknown results. Some top heavy guys, as we're about to get into, you could put, do a 20, 30 lineup deal in a smaller slate, spread your pool out, get some exposure to several guys you like, and just hope one of them hits, which will probably be my strategy. Unless I just start getting into, and I don't lock my stuff as early as some, depending on how fast it's filling up. But, when I start taking a look at the second and third player pools, if I really start keying in on 6 to 10 guys I just love that are fitting everywhere, then I may go back to the 1 to 3 lineup. But I really wait till about Tuesday night, Wednesday to lock my contest in as they start filling up. So with that, we'll right into the Dirty Dozen. First tier, 3 picks, 9K or above. If you're new, we break this up into 3 tiers, and then the 4th tier is a flop, a fade, and a sleeper. Then we roll into some rapid fire, a round table wrap up, and then we roll through some betting and one and done stuff. So we pretty much go action packed from here on out. Bucks, lead us off with the 3 guys you like 9K or above.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple guys here I really don't like, which we'll touch on later. But my 3 favorites in this range, starting from the bottom up, are going to be Billy Horschel at 9K. Really like him this week. When you look at what he does best, just really solid all around. Hits a ton of fairways, hits a ton of greens, really solid with his irons. Just a really solid all around game. If he can get his putter going for just a couple days, I think he can contend. And when you look at like his last 5 events, 4 top 25s. So the guy's playing really well. Outside of Billy, Hideki Matsuyama, love him this week, and Gary Woodland, love him. I know he's coming off a win. But when I look at this golf course, fairly tight. You need to hit fairways, and there's some scoring opportunities. You got a guy like Gary Woodland who's known for being one of the best drivers of a golf ball on the planet on a course that's not the same as Pebble, obviously, but there's a premium on hitting fairways to small greens, and their fairways are pretty tight. Similar type of setup there. So same breath, I'm going to go Gary Hideki, Billy Horschel.
Ruvy, who catches your eye?
First guy, I'll back up that Hideki statement. I really like Hideki a lot this week. Of those top guys, I feel like he's the one next due for a win. Hasn't had one this year. Everybody else up on that leaderboard has, or on that top 4 guys. So Hideki would be my first play. Second play is another guy that I think he hits the ball straight, can get a hot putter. I don't think he's been putting very well lately. So I'm hoping that turns around, and it's Ryan Moore. Coming off 15th at the Travelers, he's been playing really, really well with his irons. Last 2 tournaments at the Memorial and the Travelers, didn't qualify for the U.S. Open, but I think the U.S. Open would have fit him well. But Ryan Moore is another guy that I really, really like there. And the last guy, if I had to go, like, obviously Dustin Johnson is going to be everybody's, like, I think you even said it in a tweet up, like, pick the winner not named Dustin Johnson. I mean, that's kind of self-explanatory on Dustin. So he could blitz this field. He could pull Molinari from last year, right? I mean, the dude lost 7 strokes putting at the U.S. Open. Like, he was playing well. So Dustin Johnson would be my guy there.
Yeah, I definitely speaking of losing, JT last week was a guy that I wanted on, and he ended up struggling with the putter, to say the least. It'll be interesting because this really isn't, when you get even in the 7-6s, not the strongest of fields.
It's not. Yeah.
Very top. Yeah, very top heavy. Then you got some young bucks that I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute. So, and if DJ winds up just being uber chalk at 12K, I certainly don't mind fading that and trying to build. I could actually fade all the 5Ks and be real contrarian and still build with depth instead of top, stars and scrub type deal. I love Matsu. He's the only guy that's in the same, with proven rounds, same atmosphere as DJ in my model this week. Victor is third, but he's only has 9 rounds right now. And then after that, it drops almost in half to the next value for the guys. So Decky I like because of the pricing there. I assume he's going to wind up getting some chalk, being 1,800 less. But it doesn't mean I'll be off of him. It's just I like Matsu. I also like Ryan Moore. He rates high for me this week. I'm on him. He's my highest rated in the 9K of the week. And then my last one, maybe it would surprise me, and I don't, I had to just stick with it because he's there. Billy Horschel. I like, he's top 10 for me this week. This week in my model, because there's 0 course history, built a blend of Donald Ross courses and ran the model. And Billy was number 7 overall. Number 1 was Ryan Moore. So not that was just a way for me to get a glance, to have something in there for course history. But those are the 3 that obviously putting DJ aside. I do think I won't mind going to Ricky if Matsu winds up gaining a lot of steam and Ricky goes under the radar. He doesn't have a great history at Donald Ross courses. And Matsu does as well. He's 3rd overall. So not that those are going to be the only guys I target, Donald Ross guys, but, Ricky's there. And if he's going to go completely, if everybody's going to go DJ and then skip down, Ricky could be very lightly owned. And I'll play. I don't mind playing a low owned Ricky by all means. Next, Ruvy, kick us off 7,600 to 8,900.
Yeah, I really like this range. I think there's some plays that I probably like more than others. But my first guy, I was on him last week and he did okay. Been on him for a while since he had a rough first stretch of the year. But Kyle Stanley I really like Kyle Stanley. He's been putting atrociously, but got a lot better last week. At the U.S. Open, he lost 7 strokes also. So But he finished 36 in the Travelers. He rates up high in my model. He's one of those straight ball hitters. I think he got second at the WGC. That's really tree lined at Firestone, I believe it was, or that was last year. But I really like Kyle Stanley. Another guy I really like is Jason Duffner. I've got him at number 1 in fairways gained over the past 12 rounds. Duff has found it again. So let's hope that last time I was on him, he missed the cut. So I'm going to go back to Duffner, though. He putted really bad at the U.S. Open, but still made the cut there. But he's been playing really well outside of a couple rounds at the Charles Schwab. He had some bad irons, but other than that, he's gained on approach 6 of the last 7 tournaments. So I really like where Duffner's at. My last one is kind of a guy that I feel has been going under the radar. I've been playing him and on him a couple weeks, but Nick Watney at 7,600. I really like Watney. He has that mantra that he's kind of a bomber, but he plays well on tighter tracks, actually. So I'm not afraid to go back to Nick Watney after his 30th at the Travelers. He burned some people at the Canadian Open, but he's still been playing well. So Nick Watney ranks out about 13th in my model over the last 12 rounds. So Nick Watney will be my last one there.
Yeah, I was one of the people he burned, but
oh, me too. Yeah, I get it.
There'll be a lot of, in my top 32, 40 guys this week, I think 12 of them missed the cut last week. So there's a lot of bounce back week potential for guys that got burned. Kokrak's going to be there and talked about. Yep. Benny On, I believe, missed the cut, or at least MDF.
He did. Yeah, he missed the cut.
Bud Colley, who I was on, missed the cut. Seb Straka missed the cut, but was striping the ball. Or no, he was one or the other. I don't have it right in front of me, but he either striped the ball and couldn't putt, or he putted his lights out.
Couldn't putt at the U.S. Open.
Yeah, Bubba missed the cut. I don't know. This doesn't count as a Bubba track per se, or we don't know yet. But some of those guys are all up there and they missed the cut. So I think that'll be a key to kind of bounce back type material. Do you have any concern, Bucks, on Woodland and the kind of world tour he's been on with the famous Amy story, which I love, but because of it, he's been on a lot more Ellens and mainstream TVs than you normally would see. And obviously hasn't played since the U.S. Open. So does he just lock and reload, or I think he's going to be massively under-owned, right? It's Price, coming off a win, coming off a major. So it's a great spot to take a chance, but your thoughts on just him getting back into contention to be ready for the Open?
Yeah, yes, it's absolutely concerning. I don't typically like playing guys coming right off of a win. Especially in his situation where you're right, he has this kind of worldwide media tour. With that being said, I don't view him in the same light as like a Brooks or a DJ, where he's been playing well, don't get me wrong, but where they have 40 million in lifetime earnings and he can just sit back, relax, and let it ride. I think he comes out and still plays. I just think it's going to be the way that his game is. It's not like he bombs it, misses every fairway, and has to grind things out. The dude hits it a long way, but he hits a ton of fairways. Like the way his style of play is easy. He hits fairways, he hits greens. He just has to make putts. And I think for him, that style of play is easier to come back on mentally than, let's just say, DJ right now. He's been missing his driver, and he's hitting it all over the place, having to get up and down, hitting out of the rough, thinking about where to land the ball because it's going to run out and this and that. I just think the way Gary's game is, I don't think he'll have any issue coming back and playing well, especially like you said, if he's going to be sub 10% owned. I'm all over it.
Yeah. What's your pick here in this middle core? Kind of always week in and week out, 7,600 to 8,900.
Yeah. I there's a lot of plays here I really like. A lot. But to narrow it down, the three guys I'm going to be on this week are Harmon. And Q, looking back like a month ago, I would have wagered I'd never say his name again ever. But he's been playing really well. And when he gets going, he gets super hot. When you look at like the beginning of last year, he was like the hottest player on the planet for a couple of months. So he's starting to round into form, and this is a track for him, right? It's not overly long. He's wipey fade, lefty fade out there. He's going to be able to hit some fairly short irons, and he's been playing well. So I like Harmon. Duffner, same thing. I've been on Duffner for a long time now. And this is the type of course that suits him. Again, not long. You have to hit a ton of fairways. He's hitting a ton of fairways. You got to hit irons well. He's one of the best players on the planet right now with his irons. And as long as this putter shows up, he's going to contend. So I love Duffner this week. And then the last guy, this was my Ches of last week. I was between Ches and Streelman last week, decided to go Ches. Streelman's that guy for me this week at $8,600. He does everything well. He hits fairways, he hits greens, he hits his irons well. His short game's good. I mean, dude does everything well. I definitely see him coming top 20 again, and paying off his $8,600.
Yeah, I don't mind any of those. Definitely Duffner is on my list. He's back up high in the rankings. I assume he's going to be, just listening to this pod, it could be chalky. We'll see. I'm going to go back to, Hovland, 8,400, third week in a row. He played good last week, ups and downs. Stat wise, he's always going to be up there right now, especially when you look at off the tee and ball striking approach. He's hitting the ball really well. And I'll be interested to see what him, Wolf, and some of these other younger guys' ownership look like this week. But Neiman's a guy I'm going to go back to, obviously. He's on my brand. We'll have a bet there and a bet on Armour. FOMO, no worse, but maybe even officially on the card. 45-1 really seems low for him, but 8,900 in this field, this time of year. Last year he caught fire. I had him, the whole month of July and August. I had Neiman, Armour, Dahman, HV3. Just go look at the leaderboards back then, and it was team Guptill for a month. So it hit, but that's not a reason to play him this week. But I think Neiman, we all know that the putter is his end all be all. If he can putt or do all right, he's fine. Strike, but when he doesn't strike the ball well, he just falls apart because now he's got to rely on the putter. But he's hitting the ball really, really well right now. Duffner was going to kind of be my third, to give a little different pick there. I probably will go back to Kokrak. I hope he just, because Jesus, I was at work, I think Friday or Thursday, whenever it was, and he lost like 9 strokes putting through 3 holes or something. Legitimately was striking the ball fabulous, and 3-putt, and he was 6 over or something after 3 and never could get it back. When you start like that in the PGA Tour, it's hard to mentally come and grind it all back. So if people are going to blow up on him for that, he's been one of the best ball strikers on tour this season. So I don't mind giving him a try, especially if he's going to come a little bit lower ownership this week. Our last tier, I'll kick off first, 7,500 or less. My first pick there is Troy Merritt, 7,000. He's playing for 7,000. He's T17 at Memorial. He made the cut last week, finished 71st, which he made the MDF also. So if he does that again, he's probably returning value this week. Top 36 in stats for me. Top 23 in rolling stats. Putting splits, he's about average. So nothing great, nothing terrible. Good value in the betting market as well, plus 150. But I just kind of like where his game's at. I don't think he'll be too highly owned. Bud Cauley, I love this week. Back to that, he's missed 3 out of his last 4 cuts with the T9 in the middle. I think most will see that with no course history this week to kind of argue about. a lot of people look at form and, his isn't the best, but he's barely missing cuts when you go back and look at his actual where he was on the number for the Schwab, the Canadian, and then obviously last week at the Travelers. So with the T9 at the Memorial mixed in there, I'd like him a lot this week as a super low own kind of guy. I'm gonna go back to Matthew Wolff. I think made the cut last week, played well for his first tour. Finished like almost last at the end of the day. I think he MDF'd, if I'm not mistaken, and missed playing Sunday, but right on the number or one off the number on the MDF. So, this could be a place where, like Buck said, weather could be a deal. And if it turns into just hit it as far as you can and have a wedge, he's a guy that can hit it with anybody on tour, lengthwise. So, 7,500, I think most won't go on him. So I could have 5% and at least be equal to the field or better. So I like Wolf as well. I love these two ranges. I have a ton later to kind of wrap up, and we'll cover in all the articles, but trying to keep it as brief as possible. Bucks, who do you like down this range?
Yeah, there's this was kind of tougher for me just because the majority of my picks are honestly going to be above here. But a few guys that I like right at 7,500 is Peter Malnati. Been hitting the ball really well, been super consistent. When you look at his rolling stats, again, super consistent, been just on point with his irons. And if he can, he's been god awful hitting fairways though. So if he can hit some fairways this week, I think his iron play, his short game, his putting can definitely hold him in contention. But like you said, if it turns into one of those weeks where fairways isn't that important, I like him even more. So Malnati is the one guy. Robert Streb is a guy that I've been looking at for a little while, and I'm not sure what to – I guess I look at a couple different ways. When you look at, like, his rolling stats, you have a guy that is trending in the right direction. So he goes from, like, 112th last 50 rounds all the way up to 16th last 8 rounds, and that's exactly the type of scenario I want. I'm just not sure whether I believe it or not. But for $6,800, you have a guy that's rounding in a form. That's exactly what you're looking for. And the same goes with Alex Prue, who, again, started like 81st in rolling stats like last 100 rounds. And right now he's sitting 14th last 8, 23rd last 4. And when you look at his stats, he doesn't do anything just god awful. I mean, he is a solid ball striker, hits a lot of fairways, hits a lot of greens, avoids bogeys. And I think that's a guy right there that will fly well under the radar, just because a lot of people probably don't know who he is. But when you look at like his last few events, he has 2 top 25s in a row. So he's been playing good golf.
Who's your third? Or did you just have 2?
Yeah, that was only 2, yeah.
Malnati, Streb.
Oh, yeah, Streb. And Prue.
Okay. Ruvy, who do you got?
My first one shouldn't come as a shocker, but it's actually, I really think it is a good play this week. And I would argue logically, I believe, in the way of it being a good play. And it's JJ Spawn. If you look at it, the way he's been playing, he's actually been playing very well. His rolling stats are really, really coming alive for me. Lost 2 strokes putting last week, but gained 5, over 5 on approach. He's hitting fairways. I mean, this is the type of week that a player like JJ Spawn can win. I'm not saying JJ Spawn's going to win. I've been saying it for 2 years. So
I hope for your sake he does.
It ranks 16th in my model. I'll take JJ Spawn right now over a lot of guys in that range because he's playing a lot better. Siwoo Kim is one of them. Like, that guy can't get any worse right now. He can pop off at any second and win, but I'll take JJ Spawn to start. Another guy is Gup, you mentioned this guy earlier. I'm not sure. You said you're probably going to be on him again, but Sepp Straka really rates out well for me. He's just been putting atrociously all 3 of the last weeks. At the U.S. Open, it wasn't terrible, but he's lost almost 6 strokes putting at the Travelers, almost 6 strokes putting at the Canadian. If he could just putt average, he'll be right there. And if we can get a putting like Valspar, you never know, because he gained 4.5 at Valspar. So the last guy, it's kind of a hometown play. He's the only guy in the field from Michigan, I believe. I saw that on Twitter. So I don't know who to give that credit for, but this is kind of a shot in the dark at this point. But just a hometown narrative. Brian Stewart was bad at putting last week. Pretty good at approach. He missed the cut at the Travelers, but at 7,400 being the hometown guy, maybe it plays out the way Keegan played out in his hometown. That's what I'm hoping. So that was my last guy.
I think Ruvy's video is frozen, but we can still hear him, so we'll let him keep talking for now. But mine are, next we go into the flop, fade, and sleeper. Flop being just a guy we don't think is going to return value for whatever reason. Fade being a guy we could love, like, whatever, but fading due to ownership, pricing, spot, course, whatever, like Bubba at a non-Bubba track type deal. And then sleeper is anybody in the 6,000 range or that we like a lot this week that we really hadn't mentioned yet. For me, the flop, I'm going to go with Patrick Reed. I like where his games kind of seems to be coming in, but just not looking well at all in anything I'm looking at. So at 90s, whatever he is this week, 93, I believe. Snedeker was real close, and I won't have any Snedeker either at 9,900. That seems like a huge price jump for him.
Yes.
But Reed's the one for sure I'm going to flop. My fade is Woodland, only because of what I mentioned earlier on World Tour, coming off a win, or a major win at that. Would I go to him if he's going to be 7% and, have him in 1 to 10 lineups? I wouldn't play him in a 1 to 3 for sure, because I just can't get there right now. But if you're going to build 10, 20 lineups, he's not a hard fade to me. He's a guy – you could have Ruvy and Woodland and be way overweight on the field compared to like a DJ and Strillman, right? Those 4 are the same price when you pair them up. And no one's going to have Review and Woodland this week because of they're both coming off wins, high priced. Everybody's going to try to squeeze DJ in where they can. So that's not a bad strategy depending on what you're looking at. My sleeper, I think Ruvy mentioned him earlier, if I remember right. Maybe it was one of you guys. It is Lebioda, Hank Lebioda. And we may have talked about him prior to the pod, but I like Sam Ryder. He kind of let me down a little bit Sunday. And I don't mind going back to him, but I really like where Lebioda is. I watched him a lot. He ranks right up there with only 12 rounds in my model. Love the price on him, 175, but 2 good tournaments leading into this week. Played well at the RBC as well. 6th in the rolling stat model. So kind of Bucks has said, he's trending in the right area for me. So I like him a lot. Bucks, who's your flop, fade, and sleeper?
Yeah, flop for me is going to be Snedeker. Trying to distinguish between a flop and a fade, but my flop's going to be Snedeker. I'm not sure how high owned he will be, but I said it last week or the week before that his irons, or I guess the U.S. Open pod, his irons are really not that good. He's not been hitting his irons real well, and at a golf course like this, a golf course like Pebble, a golf course like last week at the Travelers, you need to have strong iron play to succeed, to play well, to give yourself a chance of being in contention. And he just hasn't been hitting his irons well. And so for me, that's going to be a guy that I think is not going to pay off. A fade for me, and this is just because I don't think he, 1, returns any value, but 2, I think he has a chance of missing the cut again. And this is a guy I was on for a long time, and that's Kokrak. he has just not been playing good. When you look at like his last few events, he has miscut last week, his 62nd at the Memorial, and so he just hasn't been playing real well. And so I'm going to fade that. And then from a sleeper, when you go down deep, there's a couple guys that I like, but one guy, and if you haven't had an opportunity to read up on this dude, one, I do like Sam Ryder this week, so kudos to you. He is in one of my lineups. But another guy that is really impressive when you kind of read into him is Chip McDaniel. This dude is a Monday qualifying beast. Been playing out of his mind all year when it comes to Monday qualifying. And for $6,300, I think he's definitely worth a dart if you got like 10, 20 lineups and you want to get superstars and scrubby. He's a guy that I would definitely target down low with pretty high upside.
Yeah, I like him, and he didn't have to Monday qualify this week.
No.
Played well last week. Certainly could get a little popular with the DJ builds for sure. Ruvy, what about you?
Yeah, I'm sorry about the video not working.
No, it's fine.
Yep,
It was better than
fade is going to be. Oh, there we go. We're back on. Yeah, my flop. Sorry, my flop is going to be. I'm right there with you on Woodland. I'm not sure if it'll get up there with the ownership, but I'm having a trouble with him just because it was such a monumental win. Obviously, I bet him on that, so I was happy with it. But I think he's an awesome guy. Nothing against him, obviously, but I think that Woodland this week, just coming off that huge win like that, just it's a lot of TV time and stuff like that and travel right now. So Woodland would be my flop. Fade. God, I want to fade Ricky Fowler, but because I've grown accustomed to Ricky when he goes for his sponsor tournaments. I just don't think I think he puts a lot of attention into the sponsor, which is awesome. He's like a good guy like that, and he just isn't focused on the golf all the way. So he is a sponsor of his. Rocket Mortgage is a sponsor of his. So I'm going to be fading Ricky. And then real quick on my sleeper, I'm going back to him, and it's Jonas Blixt. So probably kill me again, but Jonas Blixt will be my sleeper.
Sounds good. Try to get this wrapped up, but we're getting way over the time we like to have. We'll skip rapid fire for tonight. We didn't get the pricing out early enough. Quick question for both of you on that. Who do you think wins first, Wolf or Hovland?
Ooh, I'd go Wolf.
I go Wolf too. Actually, I'm a bigger Wolf fan than Hovland fan.
Me too.
I was until I thought that's who was going to be the popular. I like them both. I watched a ton of them, but
yeah, they're both great.
Yeah, they're both, and good class coming out for next year, especially in the fall swing. I think one or both will probably pick something up in the fall swing if they choose to play it. I assume they will.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
but yeah,
I think Wolf is just that. I mean, they're both just pure talents, but he's just like a pure winner. Like
he won like 8 times this year, right?
Yeah,
Holland impressed because of obviously the Masters and as an
Mm-hmm.
AM and the U.S. Open, but
oh yeah.
I still think Wolf's ceiling is higher.
So with Hovland, I saw a video of him with this like pump fake double hitch golf swing.
They said he reached back for more.
Yeah. Is that normal? That's not normal for him, right?
No, that's maybe the only time he swung like that all weekend.
I saw that. I'm not kidding. I saw that and was like, I'm not sure I can roster this guy ever.
No, that's not. He has a normal swing. Wolf's the one that has the awkward.
Well, yeah. Well, if you saw this Hovland swing.
No, I saw it yesterday. That's not
Charles Barkley.
No, that was a one-time. I don't know what he did, but it was a one-time deal. He doesn't do that normally.
That was weird, man.
Round table wrap up. Ruvy, is there anybody not mentioned? I know you'll get into your Ruby's article and sleepers and all that in the next 2 days, but anybody that catches your eye?
Not much. And my first thought, I was thinking about Sung J M, but he just putted really well last week, so no. I'll skip me this week on that. I don't have a lot.
Yeah, for me, speaking of Sanjay, he was one I wanted to mention. I actually really like him. Dude is a phenom when it comes to ball striking. When you ask any of the tour guys, like who's the number one guy they think is going to break through and win sometime this season, most will say Sanjay because of his ball striking.
Oh yeah, I've been on it all year. I love that guy. So.
Which has been notoriously bad recently, and his putter's been hot.
Yeah.
I think that switches this week. I think he starts hitting the ball a lot better. His putter probably cools off. But let's just say he starts hitting the ball better and his putter stays hot, he will win this week.
Yeah.
So I think – but I was hoping to get him at like low eights. Being at 8,800, I could definitely see him being a little under-owned with Neiman being right there after that performance last week. So I like Sanjay a lot this week. I have him in a couple lineups. The other guy I want to mention was Ches. I think this course sets up perfectly for him. I think this is another course that he can attack. I think this is another course that he can contend at. And so let me ask you guys a question. I saw this on Instagram with my Golf Spy. They asked and posed a question. Do you think a short hitter like a Ruvy can become a number one player in the world?
No.
Ruvy.
No.
Yeah.
Not in this day and age, because you can't do it consistently enough over 20, 25 tournaments.
Yeah.
This course has changed too much for him, I think.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that. When is the last time we have had a golf course that was a true bomb and gouge? Can you remember?
Augusta? I don't know.
It's been a month and a half at least.
Yeah.
I mean, the last like 7 events have all been, you don't need to hit it long. It's probably in your best interest at fairways.
Canadian was close. I think the Canadian was closer than we thought going into it.
Yeah, but you still had guys contending that hit it nowhere. But yeah, I could see that. But it's not like a waste where you just fly at 340 and you're going to be okay. It's not like an Augusta, that kind of thing. I just thought it was interesting. At first glance, I would say absolutely not, because of who you look at with the Rorys, the DJs, Tiger, Woodland, Koepka, all these guys just murdering the ball. But then I got to thinking about all the breakdowns that we've done over the last, 8 weeks, and I just see a lot of courses that are set up for not having to hit your full driver. So,
was the last time we had a short hitter number one in the world? Probably Luke Donald, right?
Yes, and that worked out real well.
That's just because he played every event.
Well, I mean, so it's twofold for me would be with the money that the guys make on tour now, the big guys don't have to play as much as the old ones used to or want to. So you could have a guy sneak in there just because they play 25, 30, 40 times a year or whatever. And DJ Brooks, they're only going to play courses that suit them or suit their sponsors or are majors or WGCs. Now, and just because a course isn't a bomb and gouge, I still think there's an advantage for a DJ or someone like that, even this week, if they're good with, like a Stinson, they can use smaller clubs off the tee box, which makes them way more accurate. And then, gives them an advantage over a guy that still has to hit his driver because he only hits at 240 or whatever. So that's the only down. You're right. There's not a lot of bomb and gouge true courses where you have to be long, but those guys that hit it long also hit their other clubs long and give them a little bit of advantage, in my opinion.
I agree.
So some of the guys that hadn't really mentioned, Binion, I kind of missed a little bit. I like him this week. He was a fade for me last week. He missed the cut. Same story with him as always. If he can find a putter, he's going to contend. He had 3 made cuts going into last week, a T16, T17, but at 7,900, I like the price. See if he catches ownership. And then Mackenzie Hughes is a guy that I played last week. He's right back up there in the model. So, T51, I think he fell off Saturday or Sunday, one of them. He was tied for first, but, I like him again. And then Fowler and Kokrak were the other two. We've kind of already talked about that. I think they're going to be on the watch list. Fowler for sure, depending on ownership. possible guy that I like a lot. Next in the betting segment, odds 40-1 or better. Bucks, anybody that you like right here?
I mean, there's a couple guys that I like from a DK perspective, like Ryan Moore and Streelman, but I'm not going to play Ryan Moore at 33. I probably wouldn't play Streelman at 40, even though those would be the two guys out of this entire group I like the most. So,
Ruvy, anybody?
That was my exact thinking as Bucks, except on Strat. I got Moore at 28 even. So, yeah, I've got nothing there. Even Sungjae at 35 makes me a little queasy.
Yeah, I like Moore. He's 33 on 5 dimes, and I think he's 28 on Bovada. But I will probably have Matsu DJ type doubles with the Euro Tour, which the Euro Tour for the next 3 or 4 weeks is going to be, worth keeping an eye on. A, quality fields, but B, leading up to the British Open. It's got some good tournaments on the horizon. So,
did you happen to see who was third on the list for the Euro Tour this week, though? Who was number 3 betting favorite?
No, I hadn't even got that far yet.
It was Fitzpatrick at 9-1.
Oh, yeah.
Rahm is like the heavy favorite, I think.
Yeah, and so, but a lot of those guys are getting over there to get acclimated.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So and there's a lot more in the field that we know, especially if you're a DFS guy. So if you're looking for doubles or something like that, it's a good time to sneak over there. Mid range, I think this is kind of where the money zone is this week. There's tons I like. I just can't figure out if I'm going to go. The only guy I would go low would be Matsu Solo at 14. I probably won't drop that low. So, you got Neiman, Kokrak, Wise, M, Watney, all in this range that are good plays, in my opinion. A little scared when you have a DJ going out there because he can run away with this thing in a heartbeat. I'll probably have a lighter card, and then if DJ doesn't look like he's going to run away and hide, get some good value live, or just hope I have the right double. Anybody you like, Ruvy, in this range?
That was the below 40?
45 to 75.
Sorry. No, I didn't have anybody in the 40. Oh, I had Duffner at 50. Yep, Duffner at 50 and Stanley at 70.
I like Stanley this week as well. Bucks?
I like Duffner and Tway at 55, 50 to 55.
I loved Tway last week. He paid off well for me. I wish I would have top 5 bet him as well. But long odds, I'll lead off. 80 to 120. Hughes, I mentioned just a second ago, I like. Collie, I've mentioned a few times, I like. HV3, I like him in this kind of setting. We'll see how the court. He's a guy that kind of Bucks was mentioning to start that, if it plays as it should, I kind of like him. If it's going to be a high scoring, I don't like his game to get high. But good value at that number if he can round into form. And then Wolf is still hovering 100, 110 to 1. Could be worth a peek for me. Bucks, anybody in this range?
Von Taylor and Wolf are the two guys that I really like in this range. Von Taylor, I'm seeing at like 85. I actually really like him this week. I have him in the same – it's like a face-off between him and Malnati for me on DK. But I really like Von Taylor this week.
Ruvy?
Spawn at 90. That's not just a FOMO bet. I really actually like Spawn a lot this week. And I know I'll keep saying that, but it's true this week. Spawn, get up higher. Nothing else there. Yep.
Any of you have a dark horse over 120 you like?
I got Blixt at 150 and Straka at 200.
Yeah, Teeter at 250 or so is a guy that I like. And I was just looking to see if I could find Chip Daniels. Whatever he ends up being is probably going to be way down here. So I like that.
He wasn't listed yet earlier.
He's still not listed, yeah.
Sam Ryder as well. I'll be on Sam Ryder this week.
Yeah,
I know we didn't mention him, but, Ted Potter Jr. has not been playing well, but he did play good on a tighter track before with, I know it's not really that tight, but Pebble, 400 to 1.
Lord.
What's that?
You talk about wipey fades.
Yeah, I mean, it's 400 to 1, $2.
Do it.
I mean,
yeah,
maybe a better top 20 bet on that.
Yeah, I'm on Armour, obviously, but he may be a real bet for me this week. It may be a top 5, but Ryder and Nick Taylor is a guy that I had last week that he's still right there for me at good value. I think he was close to 200 earlier. I don't mind, any of the guys you guys said. Down here, definitely top 20 comes into play because you can normally get 18 to 30 to 1 type numbers on a top 20. Or if you have each way, they really can be nice. One and done as of right now. Bucks still at 3.41. He had Finau last week, $0.
Yeah, really?
Yep.
Ruvy, crazy to me. Normally, I play my guys on DK pretty heavy and throw them in the OAD too. And I didn't have, I guess I didn't have anybody last week, but I didn't play Finau on DK, so that was interesting.
I did. It didn't go well. Ruvy had Casey, 263,000 last week. Gets him to 4.
That was a backdoor top 5.
Leishman was my play last week, 66K to get to 7.1 million. Bucks, you got your pick this week?
Darn tootin', Hideki Matsuyama.
Ruvy?
Ryan Moore.
I like that as well.
Ryan Moore is also my pick this week.
Ooh, time for me to jump up.
Yeah, maybe I gotta switch that because I gotta make up some ground. Maybe JJ Spawn slides in at the last second.
You guys have any quick final thoughts before we wrap it up? Bucks?
No, I'm good.
No, I didn't.
So yeah, as always, Wednesday night in the chat room on the site, 9:00 Eastern, 8:30 Eastern for majors, but this week it'll be 9:00. Last week, we introduced our video feed for premium members only. Feedback was great. We were able to get it onto the site afterwards so you could watch if you missed. Live chat still there. Everything's the same. We're just going to start including video feed, for the premium, which the Wednesday night chat's always been for premium members, so nothing changes there. Now you just get a little video feed. So come check us out. If you're not a member yet, like I said earlier, great time, gupscorner.com. You get through the Wednesday of the WGC if you join today. If you join tomorrow and you're listening to this, you're going to get through Thursday. If you do the monthly, obviously I'd say do the annual, but and our annual is $365, so it's not just through the end of the season. We have tons of football content coming up. College football is going to be covered. Working on some NBA, MLB type writers for next season. Big things on the horizon for us. So I joined now because we hit 5,000 Twitter followers on Gups Corner to match. I have 9,000 myself. You can use the code 5K9K, and I'll tweet it out as well. And it gets you 14% off of any of these packages. Just go on the website, use the code. The code will be good through Sunday night at midnight Eastern. Then it'll go away. So take advantage of that this week. Hopefully we have a good tournament with all the employees happy and worked out. They get that situation nailed out. I think, final thoughts for me. Overall, I think typically a new tournament will want to play a little easier because they want to attract talent moving forward. They have some big names already kind of geared here just because of the sponsorships and stuff that helps them out. But being where they're placed in the schedule right now, it's really tough for them to attract because you just finished a major and you got the Open and you got a lot of guys going back overseas with the Open being overseas, obviously always every year. So I think they're at an uphill battle to get a deep field any given year just because where they are in the schedule. Maybe the schedule changes for them and it helps them. But so with that, I don't think it's going to be like last year, the Bayern, it played ridiculously easy and more because of the weather. But, guys don't want to go to a new event and they, have to grind their ass off to like a -3, especially when the prize pool isn't as big as some of the others. So that just factors in a little bit for me. And finally for me, last night some saw some other people get involved in a message between me and Ruvy, who on the side were talking perfectly fine about his Keegan Bradley play, of which I had Keegan in many things last week. I had Keegan last year at 125-1 when he won. And, you know, it just went all over me because others who don't know what was going on thought I was coming after Ruvy, which he 100% knows that was not the case. It was not what I was doing. I reread the thread even this morning after I went to the gym last night, did work, come home, took a break, read it this morning. I still had no problems with it. That's why I didn't delete it or anything. I mean, what I was intending to get across was getting across. I, was asking him what got him on the bet. Everybody knows this putter is the most inconsistent thing in the world. I was on him big time for the U.S. Open. So, 2 weeks ago, not big time, but, he's a big play of mine. I can never get him right. So I was genuinely pulling for Ruvy and happy for him, but some in the industry decided to voice their opinion inaccurately. And, that's fine. We're, as we continue to grow and get bigger and more exposure, you're going to have that. It's just natural with growth. But rest assured, I won't make that mistake again so people don't get the wrong idea, because the 1,500 or so they're in the Slack now had no issues what was going on. They knew exactly what was being said and the intent of it. And, next time I just advise people to reach out privately if they have a question or a concern. That's kind of my deal for the night. Ruvy knows everything was good. I double checked this morning. He said he was fine. I never had an issue with it. I didn't know it was a big deal until someone, a few people want to raise their concerns. As always, join us Wednesday night. Going to be a big one, I think, this week. A very cumbersome week. A lot of people really wanting to not take it off, but struggling to get the energy with the big tournaments coming up, NFL coming up, football's crazy, contests are crazy, but the money's still out there to be won. I mean, you look at the pots, they're as big as they've been all year for a non-major. So as we get more information, that's going to be critical this week from I've got 2 or 3 guys reached out. They're going to be on course tomorrow, sending me pictures and feedbacks. Going to talk to one tomorrow night, do a little Periscope probably tomorrow night with an update. At least for the premium members. So it's a big week to get as much information as you can, but at the end of the day, play the guys you like. That's what we tell you. If I listen to that myself, I would do better. Sometimes I even make that mistake of not trusting, but I would do it this week. Buck's kind of said it. At the end of the day, the guys you feel confident in, just go with them and see where it gets you, because no one really knows how it's going to play this week until we see it. I think it's going to be a fun tournament. Looking forward to it. And we'll see you Wednesday night at 9 o'clock. Have a good one.
Peace.
SmashFactor.